Okay, it's 2, not 12. It's my time, 12. It's 2 already. So I guess maybe we can start. So Ryan, would you like to go ahead to start the webinar?
Sure, thank you and welcome everyone. Thank you especially to our academic advisor, Melody, who has organized this today. My name is Ryan Shosted. I'm a professor in the Department of Linguistics at the University of Illinois, and I am currently the director of the program in Translation and Interpreting Studies. Welcome to today's webinar. We're thrilled to have you here as you explore the University of Illinois' Translation and Interpreting Studies program. I'm excited to introduce you to this vibrant and dynamic program that's become a leader in preparing students for impactful careers in translation, interpreting, and language services. Our program at Illinois offers a unique blend of theory, hands-on practice, and professionalization that's designed to prepare you not only for the linguistic challenges of the field, but also for the critical thinking and ethical considerations that make translators and interpreters so essential in our globalized world. Whether you're interested in literary translation, medical interpreting, cutting-edge localization technology, we offer specialized courses, mentorship, and real-world opportunities that can help you thrive. Throughout today's session, you'll hear from faculty, students, and learn about our curriculum. You'll have the chance to ask questions about the application process, program expectations, and the career paths that our graduates pursue. We're here to help you. We're excited to have you with us. We want you to help you see how your unique skills and opportunities can find a home in this exciting and impactful field. So thank you once again for sharing your time with us, for joining us today. And I hope that today inspires you to take the next steps towards becoming a part of our program and our community. So let's get started. I'll turn the time back over to our academic program advisor, Melody.
Thank you so much, Ryan. At the beginning, we would like to have our faculty members to briefly introduce themselves. And also, we are very honored to have 2 of our current students to join us today. So one is from our online program, online cohort, and the other one is from the on-campus cohort. So I guess you would like to hear from them as well. So I guess we can start with our faculty member first to briefly say a few things about themselves. And I see Ozum, the first one on my screen. So Ozum, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, Melody. So the reason why you see the doctor title in front of my name has to do with the fact that I'm a practicing conference interpreter. Because each time we interpret on Zoom, we have to write down interpreter. Otherwise, people may assume that we are one of the participants. That's why I had to write it down. So I'm a practicing conference interpreter. I've been interpreting for at least 15 years. So I've interpreted the American president since the Bush era. I also interpreted Trump as he was the previous one of the previous American presidents. So I worked mainly for media in Turkey, and then I worked as a visiting scholar and researcher at UMass Amherst, and here I am. I'm lucky to join University of Illinois program in Translation and Interpreting Studies alongside the great professors and scholars. My working languages are Turkish is my language A. We have Sakine Sevim. She texted me yesterday. She's interested in Turkish-English language combination. So that's why one of the participants is interested in Turkish-English combination, for which I am grateful. And Spanish is my C language and English is my B language. I am also very much into research. Currently, I'm working on a book proposal accepted by Routledge about conference interpreting. So that's all about me. We're lucky to have you here. Please come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Azul. And Rinaldo, you're the next on the list. I mean, on the screen.
Okay. I'm Reynaldo Pagura. I basically teach interpreting classes as well, something I have been done since the 1990s as an instructor, and 1990 as an interpreter. That's before some people were born. Vera and I had this talk already. My A language, what we call A language in interpreting, is basically our native language. My native language is Portuguese, and I work from and into English. So English Portuguese is my main combination, and I also have Spanish and French. I basically teach community interpreting, where we focus on court and healthcare, and practice a lot of consecutive, and then conference interpreting, where we mostly practice simultaneous interpreting. And we meet every week. Even if you are online, we have a time and we meet on that day and on Zoom every week for the interpreting classes. So they are not self-paced. Okay, and we use that for practice, basically.
Yeah, thank you, Rinaldo. Thanks. And Robert, you're the next one there.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Robert Jenkins, and my language pair is German-English. I've studied several languages over my lifetime, but I would consider most of those inadequate for literary translation, which is where I specialize. So I teach the literary translation courses. I also teach theory, and I have a sub-specialization in audiovisual translation, particularly in the form of subtitling and captioning. And that includes a very high-tech side with all the new software. I also teach German language, German literature, German-English translation, not just literary translation, but all kinds of German-English as a language pair. And that's me. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Robert. And Patricia, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending the webinar today. My name is Patricia Phillips, and I am a French to English translator. That's mostly where I work, although I read a lot in Spanish, and so I could work there, although I don't have time for it because most of my time is spent teaching in this program. But my background in translation involves a lot of different kinds of documents and different kinds of texts, including technical, commercial, and medical translation, also some legal translation, and some social sciences translation, and then some natural sciences translation. So I translated it in quite a bit of several areas, across several areas, mostly from French to English. In the program, I teach courses in what we call right now the professions track. What that actually means is specialized. It's another word for that might be specialized to translation. That is, all these different kinds of documents, and how they work and what the conventions are for translating into this or that different genre. So I teach medical translation, I teach scientific translation, I teach legal translation. I also teach writing, just a general writing course for translators. And I also teach a class that people take when they finish the program, that's designed to help you bring everything together before you go out into the world as a professional. A couple of things I'd like to say about some of the courses I teach and some of the features of the courses here in our program generally is when I teach certain types of courses, I include the use of CAT tools. That stands for computer assisted translation technology. And so I work a lot on the technical aspect of translation with students. And I also work on a lot of the more theoretical aspects. We look at translation theory with respect to specific document types. And I also work on general skills such as reading and writing, which is something that translators always have to work on. So there's just a great variety of different focuses in our program. And I wanted to just point out that since my colleague, Alexandra Yaziba, is not here, I do want to point out that in our program, we do try to give you at least a very basic knowledge of the technical aspects of the translation the translation world. My colleague teaches terminology and teaches the technology associated with that. But we also both use CAT tools extensively. And I'll stop there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Thanks. Yeah, as she mentioned, like we have a few colleagues who cannot be here today. So they have been, we may talk about the classes they are teaching once we come to the presentation, but just let you know, we have a few who cannot make it, whether they are teaching or they have other obligations. Yeah, that's all the faculty members we have here for today. And oh yeah, a little bit of myself. Melody, at the academic program advisor. I see some very familiar names. So I guess we have had some email exchanges already. So I guess you know what I'm doing. So basically, I will be in close contact with everyone before you join the program and while you are in the program. And also once you finish the program, always in contact with our alumni. And also am providing language support in Chinese. My language pair is English Chinese. I do know Japanese, but not competent enough for language support. I'm still polishing my language skills there. And I'm also teaching one course, Chinese English translation. So we will mention about the different courses our program can offer. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. So that's a little bit about myself. And I guess we need to move on to two of our students because one of them needs to get back to the class. He's supposed to have a class right now. And thank you so much, Waleed, for joining us. He's our first year student from the on-campus section. And yeah, so I will pass that on to you, Waleed.
Thanks, Melody. Hi, everyone. So my name is Waleed. I'm a first-year student in the Translation and Interpreting Studies program. I also work here at the university in the External Relations and Communications Office as part of the FOIA team. I study mainly French to English translation with a concentration in translation for the professions. I also do a little bit of Spanish to English. My original first language, my A language, is Urdu. I'm originally from Pakistan, but it's not one of my working languages. Like Melody mentioned, I'm an on-campus student, so I can also take other courses here at the university in French and in European Union Studies. I chose UIUC's program because I saw that it was well accredited. It's one of the programs that's listed on the American Translators Association's website. And specifically also because I saw that they had classes in localization, which is what I wanted to focus on. And like Ryan mentioned earlier, that there's a blend of theory and hands-on practice, which is what I was looking for. I'm from Chicago, so moving to campus also was fairly easy. And like I mentioned earlier, I can take other classes here, which is really valuable. And I've been definitely enjoying the program so far. My professors are all really knowledgeable in the field, and I feel like I can ask them about anything related to translation, and they always have information to share with me. I also just really value connecting with other translation students here and practicing French and Spanish with them, and also just hearing about their different backgrounds and their interests within translation. So I'm glad that there's more interest in the program, and I hope that you all apply.
Thank you so much, Walid. Thanks for joining the webinar. Thanks for your time. Thanks. And Vera, would you like to introduce a little bit of yourself too?
Hi, I'm Vera Gardner. I'm a second year student in the translation and interpretation program. I chose UIUC for part in that I work full time, and I liked that a lot of the professors are very flexible and having synchronous classes later on in the day. So they're very courteous and understanding of us students that want to do a master's by choice and are working full time. Something else I really liked about the program is the fact that they are able to use a lot of the CAT tools, the technology, real world projects, especially some of like Dr. Phillips' classes and Dr. Pagoda's classes. We're using real documentation and working with that as translating and understanding those processes. So that's one aspect I like about it. And it's been a good program so far, but it's easy but hard to juggle, kind of do a full workload. So I recommend about 2 classes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vera. Yeah, 2 classes for, we'll talk about that as well when I'm doing the presentation. So for online students, 2 courses per semester will be considered as a full-time student load. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for the brief introduction. I guess we can jump to the presentation now. So I have a lot to share. I'm supposed to wrap up my presentation in 30 minutes, but I doubt. So forgive me if I'm kind of extending the time limit. So I have a lot to share. So I'm going to share my screen. Before I start, I just want to double check, is my audio okay? Is my audio okay to everyone? Okay, yeah. Just give me a second. Okay. So can everyone see the PowerPoint, my screen? Everything good? Yeah, it happens last time. Okay, great. Thank you. And so this will be for the presentation today. There will be 2 major parts. So the first part will be, I will be talking about the program, provide information overview of our program, and try to leave a little bit QA session by the end of the first part. And the second part, I will be talking about the application process. So I guess most of you have a lot of questions about the application process, about the documents. Yeah, so we will have a QA session as well. So feel free to ask questions in the chat box. I'm terrible looking at the questions there when I'm presenting and sharing the screen. If I miss the questions, feel free to shout out. So I'll try to address the questions during the presentation as well. Don't wait until the end. Of course, there'll be a QA session, but yeah, feel free to shout out if you have questions there. So for the first part, the program overview, I will be basically talking about six topics. The first one is a brief one to see a little bit about the university. I guess most of you have known the university. And the second will be, I will be talking about the difference, how different our program is from other MA program in translation and interpreting studies. And the third one will be talking about the program requirements, like the courses you need to take, the credits requirement, some major courses I'm going to talk about in the third one. And for the first one, we will be talking about, we have 2 different modes, the online and on-campus cohort. So how different they are, what are the advantages for each of the different mode. And for the 5th one, of course, you'll be very concerned about you want to know about the costs and also any fundings are available. So I will briefly talk about that. And the last one will be some career possibilities. Maybe you want to know what your career will be like once you finish the program. So I will briefly talk about that as well. And at the end of the part 1, we'll have a few minutes for questions as well. Okay, so for the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, so this is a nice picture. So I have been to the campus and I was wowed at the beginning when I was there. So it's a very nice campus. And of course, this is not only for on-campus students, but also for online. I will be talking about the accessibility to some of the resources to our online students as well. So briefly about the university, it was funded back in 1860 something, 1860s. So, and there are 3 different campuses. Our program is in the campus of Urbana-Champaign, and we do have the other 2 campuses. One is in Chicago, and the other one is in Springfield. I guess you only hear about the Urbana-Champaign one because that's where our program is. And our university ranks the number 9, and that's the information I found on our homepage. So number 9 among all the public universities in the US. And as for the population, I mean students population, the most recent number is over 56,000 students so far. And the very thing I wanna brag about specifically is about our libraries. So we have the number 3 libraries with all the greatest collections in the libraries. And I want to mention this one not only to the on-campus one. Of course, for on-campus students, you have access to all the on-campus resources, but for online students as well. So it's very flexible, it's very accessible. For online students, you can download any documents, and most importantly, you can get the hard copy delivered to your house. So they provide very amazing delivery service as well. But of course, within the US, it'll be very tricky to deliver outside the US. So this is the kind of about the university, some very brief information. If you're interested, feel free to check the website. A lot of information there for sure. Okay. So the second one, I want to talk about how different our program is from other MA program. I want to mention a few very characteristic features of our program. So the first one I want to stress is the multilingual approach. So I guess you have had a sense already when our faculty members were introducing themselves. So we can provide like guidance for students working in over now. I mean, the number is 20, if I remember, 20 or 21. We have a large number of language pairs. Why we can do that? Because for example, our core faculty members can support students working in 9 different language pairs, like I listed here: Arabic, Chinese. So Arabic, our faculty member Ali, he's not here today, and Chinese and other language, German, Portuguese, Spanish, Russian, Turkish. Those can be, those can be the support from our core faculty members. Because of the very close collaboration with the School of Literatures, Cultures, and Linguistics, so we can provide language support for the following listed languages. So altogether, over 20 language pairs we can help with. And this is not the end. So if you have a language which is not listed here, so feel free to reach out to us, because we may have a possibility to arrange to find a language support specialist from the school. So the school offers different language programs, linguistics and culture in those all different fields. So there's a possibility we can support other languages as well. So this is something I want to mention. But the first feature, the multilingual approach. And the second one, we just now we have mentioned, the program is offered in 2 different modes, online and on-campus modes. So I just want to say the modes are different, the modality is different, but students from the 2 different modes, they need to take the same courses, same requirements, the instructors are same, the teaching content, the course content is the same, and you get the identical like transcript or diploma by the end. Is the MA in Translation and Interpreting Studies. And for the class delivery method, for online students, you can join the class synchronously or asynchronously, and some of the courses are offered in dual mode, but we highly recommend students to join the synchronous sessions because you will benefit a lot from the live interaction with your colleagues, with your classmates. And for some students who may hold a full-time job, so sometimes maybe you cannot make to the class. So most of the class will be having recording. You can watch the recording afterwards, but it's not recommended. So most time you will join the class synchronously. And the other thing flexibility I want to mention is for the online cohorts, for on-campus, always the time, class meeting time is normally fixed and decided by the office. But for online cohort, normally our instructors will reach out to every enrolled students before the semester starts to find a time that works the best for most of the students. So that's where we try to accommodate students' requests, if possible. So the other feature we are proud is like we offer 3 different areas of specializations. Dr. Phillips has mentioned that already. Like we have 3 different areas: literature translation, interpreting, and professions. Literature translation is very easy to understand, like short novels, short stories, novels, prose, poems translation. So this literature translation. And for interpreting, we have courses in community interpreting, conference interpreting, and like Dr. Pagura has mentioned. So those practice will prepare you for interpreting in different settings, like legal interpreting, medical or educational interpreting in different settings. And other than the literature translation, all the rest of the written translation, we call them translation for professions. This is our one of the 3 area of specializations. It's kind of like the specialized translation, as Patricia mentioned. So for this field, you will get hands-on practice and in the translation in different genres or text types. And it also has a very coverage for terminology. Terminology is even one of the required courses for students, for every student. And we have, like, you can take courses for CAT tools, the technical part, technology part for translation, and also the localization, which Alexandra, one of our faculty member, offers courses in that area. So this is about the 3 different areas. So for the 3 different areas, you would get the not only hands-on practice, but also the theoretical study in the TNI field. Here's a short list of some of the courses and the expertise our faculty member has. And I have mentioned most of them, but I want to mention the audiovisual one. Robert just mentioned while he was introducing himself. So this is one of the courses we offered as well. And also the writing for translators, and the other ones like language specific translation. So those can be your elective courses. So we offer language specific translation courses like in Arabic English, Spanish English, German English, and Chinese English. And hopefully we can have more like different language specific translation courses in the future. Okay. So this is about the courses and also expertise of our faculty team. And for the program requirements, I want to talk about the required courses and your area courses and also the elective courses, and also stress a little bit on the capstone project, which actually is one of the required courses. So maybe when we look at the table, it would be easier to have an idea what I mean by the different courses. So to complete the degree, the minimum requirement for the program, students need to take 8 courses, which is 32 credits in total. So each course is 4 credits. And to be a full-time student, you can complete the program like in 2 academic years, which is 4 semesters, because we don't offer courses in the summer semester, basically spring semester and fall semester. So 4 semesters in total. Of course, you can take more than 8 courses. So this is just list out the minimum requirement for the completion of the program. And this is a typical course plan by semester. So in the summertime, before your first semester, normally I will reach out to every new student to provide a course plan according to your preferred area of specialization. So list the courses you need to take semester by semester, and also provide some important information like some courses have the prerequisites requirement. Some courses are only offered in specific semesters, so you will have all the information in your course plan. So like your semester would be like the first semester, this is for online students. You take 2 courses, 407, which is one of the required courses. And the second one, you can take area courses, either from those 3 different areas. And the second semester, you can take 410, which is the theory course, and another area courses. And the third semester, you can choose maybe 2 elective, or maybe you can work on one of the area courses. But normally we recommend you take your area courses earlier the better, because by the third semester, you need to decide what do you want to work on your capstone project, which is the last one of 540 listed in your final semester. So it's a little bit too much information for you now, but just want to have a picture to see how your semester would be like for online students. So this is for online. This is to meet the requirement for our program. So for on-campus students, it's slightly different because you need to take at least 3 courses, which is the university policy to keep your full-time student status. So for the third course, for each semester, you can choose any course. It can be from our program, or it can be from other non-translation program as well. So yeah, this is course plan. Any questions so far? I've been talking a lot. Okay. So this is the list of the courses we offer. I highlighted some of them in yellow and some of them in light green. So the yellow ones are the 4 required courses, and the green ones are the language-specific courses we offer. And all the rest are either in one of the 3 different areas or are only elective courses. Yep. So for the difference about the online and also on-campus modes, just now we have mentioned they are different modality, but share the similarities like same instructor, same content, same requirement, everything is the same, except the modality is different. So advantages for both modes, I mean, for online, it's very obvious. The flexibility the online mode can provide. You can join the class, study where you are, either domestic students or international students. So it may be a little bit tricky for students from different time zones. But I mean, the flexibility is a very exciting part for online students. And for online students, you can also work as part-time students, which will not be an option for on-campus. It'll be tricky for on-campus students because the tuition you pay for on-campus, you pay by semester, no matter how many courses you're taking. But for online students, you pay by the credits you are taking. So it will be easier, more feasible for online students to do the part-time. And also the talking about tuition for online students, the tuition rate is much lower than the on-campus tuition. But I mean, for on-campus students, obviously the advantages are a lot of advantages for the on-campus, right? So when you're on campus, you can have easy interaction with the instructors, with the entire community, not only our program, but also the university, right? You have a university life and you can have easier access to all the resources on campus. Like you can take any courses you want, not only limited to the translation program. So those are the advantages of both modes and the differences between them as well. So here's a very table to list the I did receive a lot of inquiries about tuition. So basically you can find the tuition detail breakdowns from our website. If you go to our website, go to application information, and there should be a subcategory named tuition, fees, and financial aid, like that. So you click on the hyperlinks, and you should see the breakdown about tuition and also fees. So fees is only the part for on-campus students. For online students, as I just mentioned, you just need to pay the tuition for the credits you are taking. So those are the numbers for every per academic year or for the program in total, 2 years, right? And there's a difference between residence and non-residence rates only for on-campus students. For online students, everyone is the same, no matter you are domestic student, international, residents, or non-residents. So the rate is same for everyone for online. So this is the total number. And those numbers are for this current academic year 24 to 2024 to 25. So if you join the program with this rate and for the duration of your program, your tuition should be the same, remain the same for the 2 years. And every year there may be some slight change, but the number shouldn't be very big, very, very minor changes, right? For online, I believe the tuition has been the same almost for, I can't remember, for all those years. Yeah, it has been the same for quite a long time. And regarding the career possibilities, I want to share the career paths from some of our alumni. So some of our alumni or graduates, they will go to become, in-house translators or interpreters for like automobile company or any different organizations or companies. And we have students who have become like full-time court interpreters or medical interpreters. We have students working for some hospital, health system organizations as translators or interpreters. And we have students working as educational interpreters for some school districts and also for some government organizations with a language service. Some like work as language analysts. We do have quite some graduates who have been working as language analysts for FBI, and those who have expertise in or interest in localization or terminology, they have been working as like project manager for Amazon, or they have been working for Discovery Channel. So those are from some of our alumni. And also we do have students who choose the academic path. So some have become like instructors for college or post-secondary institutions, and some have continued to pursue a doctorate degree in relevant fields in translation or in literature studies. We have quite a few alumni who have been in that field as well. Yes, I think that's the first part I want to share about the program overview. Yes, I want to pause a little bit here to see whether we have any questions from the audiences. Any questions about the program or any questions for our faculty members?
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, my name is Yuzu. Can you hear me? I haven't used Zoom for a while. I forgot how it works, but so I had a question about the core faculty and the collaboration with CLCL, because I'm interested in the translation between Japanese and English, and I wasn't quite getting what's the differences between those two, and how it would work for me. So working with the support of CLs, what it's like to work with the SLCL, how different is it?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. So here it is how it works. So all the courses are delivered in English. All our faculty members will deliver the course in English. Except the language-specific courses, right? German English or Spanish English. So most of the courses are delivered in English only. So in the class, when you join class, your classmates may be from different language pairs, English, Spanish, English, French, English, Japanese, English, Chinese. And our faculty team we'll focus more on the translation interpreting studies. And once we come to we need specific support for the language. That's the time. If the faculty member has the language, that would be very convenient, right? But if not, we will turn to our language support specialists. That's how we call them, language support specialists from the School of Literature, Cultures, Linguistics. That's where we have like instructors, professors in other languages, which are not within the scope of our core faculty members. And then they can provide language support for the students. Let's say your language pair is Japanese and English. We do have a few students. We have had few students in the past and even now who are working in Japanese English. So the instructor, if the instructor or the students need specific language support in that language, we will turn to our language support specialists. So they will provide feedback on your assignments, feedback on your final project.
Oh, okay.
So,
that makes sense.
yeah,
'Cause,
that's how it
like
works.
I knew the classes were provide like in English, and I wasn't quite
Yes.
getting how like I get the instructions and the feedback on the Japanese part. So that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so our faculty member can feel free to add anything if you want to share about how they are dealing with the different language pairs in their class.
I can jump in here, Melody. Sorry,
Yeah, sure.
my
Thank you.
camera keeps going off. Yeah, I just wanted to address that issue really the way, okay, so every instructor addresses it differently in their classrooms, and in the classes that I teach, what you have to understand is when you're translating and you're learning to translate, is teaching translation is not teaching language. Okay. So it's different. So what I mostly do when I have these classes, these what we call polyglot or multilingual classes, is I set up assignments so that everybody is translating into English. In other words, whatever genre we're working on, or whatever discourse type, or whatever text type, we learn about the conventions in English, and we learn about that particular type of document. And then the students translate into English. They learn how to do that. So the idea being that you can actually take what you learn about the translation process and do that in the reverse. There is one other assignment that I have in another class where I have students looking at very specifically and analyzing the way a text has been translated from English into their non-English language. Okay. But in my classes, I have assignments where students will study the way something's translated, but I don't translating into a non-English language because I would not have any control over how to assign a grade to that. And then we would work in tandem with the language support specialist so that some of that assignment, or perhaps all of it, would be given to them to evaluate for the instructor first. The language support specialist does not assign a grade. So one of the issues here is that only the instructor can assign a grade. So set up my assignments that way. I hope I've been clear.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like you kind of in the class you learn the theory and how the translation works, and that's what like the class is focused, and you do have extra support for the the linguistic part, like the non-English language part.
Yes. Mhm.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for the question, and thank you, Patricia. I'm looking at the chat box, chat window here. So we have one question. Let me see the first one. One is from Boyoung. Excuse me if I pronounce your name wrong. So question about careers. Do students have access to the career center, like career coaching, resume review services? So I believe on campus, that's for sure. For online students, I believe I think it's very I'm very positive it's yes, but I would double check about that. So yeah, so that's the my memory I can't remember now, but I think mostly they can have access to the career service as well. But I would double check about that.
If I may, very
Renat?
quickly,
Yeah.
informally, at least in interpreting, I get a lot of requests from all over to which I refer the students. So I've had a student doing several interpretation sessions for a legal office in French. I've had students doing work in Spanish. We have been requested sometimes for internships, as we were talking this last Tuesday. So that would apply for online or on-campus students. A
Yes.
lot of interpretation is done online nowadays. So it doesn't matter where you are. Okay, so, but I would say that's why I said it happens somewhat informally, because we, the faculty, in many cases get requests. People who
Thank you,
know.
Renato. Yeah. Thank you for the question. And the second one is from, are the special topics in translation classes TST 580 picked by faculty, or are they requested by students? So this one is kind of like, we call that kind of umbrella course. That's where whenever our faculty members want to develop a new course, so under there, for example, I'm working on Chinese English translation now. It's under 580. So it's not an individual course yet. It's still in development. So once it's developed, it's approved, it will become an individual course. So that's where it's kind of like a trial section for the new courses. Once it's ready, it will become an individual one, and new courses will come in there. So I would say it's mostly for our faculty team to develop their new courses there, not for students to request. But of course, maybe faculty teams may consider if there's a request in special area, maybe it's the interest of the faculty team, they will develop a new course there as well.
Just quickly, Melody, I've taught under 580, I've taught Portuguese English translation once, and that was a request by some students. We happened to have 4 or 5 Portuguese students that semester in the program. So it can be generated, I would say, by student interest. And we'll put it together and offer if it's feasible in terms of numbers, I would say.
Yeah, that's a very helpful information. Thank you, Renato. So that makes perfect sense. Like when we have more students in that language pair, so maybe we will develop a new course in that language specific translation. Thank you. And the next question, I also wanted to ask about the career opportunities. Is it possible to get any job opportunities in the university, like assistantship? So for assistantships, so I mean, this is if you are on-campus students, it's possible. Our program, we do not offer like TA or RA. But we have students like they reach out to other departments. For example, we have students who have been TA for Spanish, who has been TA for German department. So so that's since as your home department, we do not have these opportunities for the TA or RA. You reach out to other programs. But of course, the other programs, they will consider their graduate students first. If they have extra like positions available, you may have a chance to do the teaching assistant or RA. But if you're on-campus students, there are some other like graduate assistantship. You can check the different programs to see there are other assistantships available. And the other thing I want to mention, because there's a kind of limitation for our program. I mean, we are a self-supporting program, so you can only take a assistantship up to 25%. Once it's above that, there will be a trigger for tuition waiver. So that's the kind of assistantship we can you can have for on-campus students. Renato,
Melody, yeah, let me poke my nose in here again, because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
are
sure,
not
go ahead.
you are not involved with the ISB program that we have. ISB is the Illinois State Board of Education. Illinois law has been a law has been passed that everybody who interprets educational interpreting in all the school districts in the state have to be qualified. So we have been hired, our program, basically our university has been hired to put together and to train interpreters in 165 different languages for the school districts of Illinois. And we have been hiring a lot of RAs, research assistants. Actually, even online students from our program are working with us as research assistants, mainly as we get into languages that no one has in the faculty. So we need RAs, and we have several working for us already.
Yeah, thank you so much, Renato, for the additional information and for correcting me of the RA part. Thanks. So the next question, please, can I switch my language C to another language if I want to? I did German as a language C, but would want to switch to Spanish. So for this one, I would say for every MA students in our program, they have a primary language pair. So it's up to you to decide which language pair you want to focus as your primary language pair. For example, your second language, your second language may be Spanish or maybe another language. So you choose your primary one, and then you can work on more than one language pair. Either it's English, Spanish, or English, German. It's up to you and to decide your language proficiency is strong enough to work in that language pair. So that's it's not required, like you have to have the second or third language pairs, but we do have many students who work in more than one language pair, And the next question, do the courses offer mostly individual work versus group work? And the second one, what are some electives that students take outside of the department? And number three, what is the interview process like in our language ABC? I will quickly address some of them. Feel free to add anything, for our faculty team. So do the courses offer mostly individual work or group work? So I guess maybe I will leave this one to our faculty team because it will be more specific about how they're organizing their classes.
Can I again
give
my
sure,
opinions? It depends very much on the students we have. For instance, last year, I had a 542 conference interpreting class with 3 Chinese speaking students. So they did a lot of group work together and reported to the rest of the class. If you have only one student with one language, as I have now in community interpreting, I have 1 Chinese speaker and 4 Spanish speakers. So there's no one with Chinese to group with him. So he works, he does his practice, and then he reports through questions that I ask him. So that will vary a lot on which class it is and how many students we have that share a common language. And I'm talking about interpreting.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense for every course, right? Depends on how many students we have in your language pair, and depends on the course design as well. So the second one, what are some of the electives that students take out of? So if you're on-campus students, you have the opportunity to take courses other from the translation one. So but it has to. So normally we will encourage students to take courses like related to translation. You can take, for example, you want to polish your third language or fourth language, you can take courses in the language department, language program or linguistics or cultural studies. And you can take any courses. For example, I remember it just came into my mind, one of the current students in our program. So right now she's taking a course from computer science. That's the fourth or fifth courses for the semester, and we do have students like interested in other area like biology or anything. You can take any other courses, even undergraduate courses. Sometimes you can take undergraduate courses as well with permission. So the third question, what is the interview process like in our language ABC? Awesome question, and this is related to the application process for sure, but I can briefly talk about it here. So for all the applications, complete applications, once we review your application, if your applications meet the minimum admission requirements, so we will proceed to the next step for the application, which is the interview, and which is the bilingual interview. So that's where our faculty, the admission committee, we will have an interview with the applicant. So basically one interviewer will be ask you questions in English, and the other one will be ask you questions in your other language. So that's where your primary language pair, we want to check your language proficiency for your primary language pair. Okay, we do have quite a few questions, but I think maybe I should go ahead because I still have the second part for the presentations not done yet. Yeah, so it's almost 1 o'clock. Oh my gosh. So I will go ahead to present the second part, which is about the application process. So maybe it will address some of the questions. If not, I guess while I'm presenting, maybe some of our faculty members can help to address some of the questions in the chat. And if not, we will come to the QA session by the end, so we can address all the remaining questions by then. Okay. Okay, so this is the second part about application process. And so for this application part, I want to talk about the admission requirements, the application deadlines, and also mention the application instructions and leave time for QA. Yeah, I guess we have a lot of questions. So for the admission requirements, so the minimum requirements from the graduate college is to join the graduate college, you need to have a bachelor's degree, and your GPA, especially the last 2 years, should be over 3. And for international students whose first language is not English, you need to provide English language proficiency test results. So those are the minimum requirements for the graduate college. And because we are a translation program, so we have an additional requirement, which means you should have, except good command of English, you should have good command at least in one of other languages, at least one. So you need to have your primary language pair to work with once you are in the program. And also want to mention the bachelor's degree. So I have received many questions regarding this one. So it doesn't matter which degree you have, which area it is from for your bachelor's degree. So for example, in the past, we have students who are from chemistry, who are from, let's say, business, or maybe political studies, any different field. As long as you have your like language study experience and you have the advanced language proficiency in English and another language, so you should be able to apply for our program. And also want to stress a little bit for the international students, because the requirements, additional requirements for English language proficiency. So the graduate college does accept 3 different types of test results: TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo. So for TOEFL, they only accept TOEFL IBT. So like TOEFL Essential or other TOEFL test results are not accepted. And for IELTS, it has to be academic IELTS, cannot be general one, because this is for academic study. And for Duolingo, the minimum score is 135, TOEFL is 103, and IELTS is over 7.5. That's the total score for different bands. Yeah. And for bachelor's degree, no matter for international student, it has, and both for domestic students, it has to be from a recognized institutions of higher learning institutions, either domestic or abroad. And for the minimum requirements, especially for GPA, if you go to the graduate college application page, there should be very specific requirement for every country. So just click on your country to see what is the minimum requirement. Some might be above 80%, depends on the scoring rubric, a scoring range you use, or maybe it has to be over 8 or something like that. Very different requirement for every country. So just you can check over there for the minimum requirement of GPA. And the application deadlines are, we have 2 application deadlines for every academic year. So the first one, which is the preferred deadline, December the 1st. So for example, if you want to join the program for next academic year, so the preferred deadline is December 1st, like this year. And we highly encourage students to meet this deadline, because you will receive like full consideration for the primary, for the merit scholarship our program can provide. If we have remaining funding, so we may consider applications come in the second application deadline, which is March the 1st next year. But especially for international students, the earlier will be easier for you and for the university, because you need to get all the immigration documents ready to apply for your visa if you are applying for, on-campus cohort. And after March the 1st, we may consider complete application files only if space permits. So basically we have 2 deadlines. And if you want to be considered for scholarship, apply earlier. So this is the deadlines. And for the application instructions, we do have that information on our website. If you go to our website, go to the first category, application information, and scroll down, you can see application instructions, which provides very detailed information about where to apply and the documents required. So for application, you need to go there, or you just go to the graduate college website directly and click on the Apply Now button. And once you start your application process, when you come to a program, you need to choose either the online program or maybe the campus-based program. And the interview is the one we just mentioned when I addressed the question. So if your application has met the minimum requirements, so the minimum requirements we just mentioned, like bachelor's degree, GPA, language proficiency, asked by the graduate college. If you have met that, so we will proceed with the interview. So the interview will be sometime closer to the deadline, maybe 1 week, depends on when we receive your application. Might be 1 week before the deadline. For example, December the 1st, maybe the last week in November, and also the first week of December, around that application deadline. Or maybe March the 1st, around March the 1st. And so here's what the application package includes. So 3 letters of recommendation, your resume, your transcripts, the English proficiency test result, and also statement purpose. And specifically for our program, you need to provide a program essay. So program essay basically, I move on to the next page. So this page can show you what a program essay is asking for. So this is the prompt question. So follow the prompt question and provide a short essay in your non-English language. So the other one for the statement of purpose, it will be written in English, but this one is written in your other language. And it's not the same because the question here is not the same as the one for statement of purpose. So you'd better provide a different essay, but not a direct translation of your English one. So that would be a better way to work on that. So for the letters of recommendation, once you start the online application process, so there will be questions, forms for you to fill, and then you need to provide the email addresses of 3 references. So once you provide their emails, the system will send them auto email to remind them to submit their letters of references. But of course, out of courtesy, you need to notify your references ahead of time to remind them. Maybe they will receive an email from our program asking for letter of references. And also, sometimes students will see, I haven't got the letters of recommendation yet. So can I submit my application? For sure, because once the other parts of documents which you can take care of, you have done that, like resume, transcripts, or other documents, you can just go ahead to submit your application. You do not need to wait until all the letters came in, because it's directly from your references. They will send the letters directly to the online system. Yep. I think I have kind of quickly went through the application process, and maybe we can go back to some of the questions, and feel free to ask any questions. I think this is the end of the presentation for the program overview and also for the application process. Okay, so I guess we go back to the questions. Okay, so the next question in the chat box is, could you please provide information on how on-campus students can apply for scholarship and whether the application process starts before or after enrollment? So for the scholarship application, there's no separate application process. So every complete application will be considered for scholarship, especially for the December 1st round, because that's where we have all the funding available for the scholarship. So there's no separate application for the scholarship. Okay, the next question, can I still use a letter of recommendation I submitted some years ago, or I have to provide new ones? Yeah, I think it's better because it has been some time. So maybe it's better to provide some updates to your references, because it had been a few years, you might have achieved something new, something different. So it's better to use updated letters if you can. Okay, we have another one. Questions about careers. Do students have access to the careers? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm in the wrong place. So the other one is from LP. If you have multiple language pairs, do complete multiple assignments for each language in each course? Yeah, I guess maybe I would turn to maybe our faculty members for this question. How do we deal with students who are working in multiple language pairs for assignments?
Here I am again, poking my nose.
Yeah, sure, thank you.
In interpreting, yes. For instance, there or Vera, as I call her sometimes, because she lived in France. In the interpreting classes that she took, she worked with her 3 languages, which coincidentally are my 3 languages: Portuguese, Portuguese, Spanish, and French. So I provided her with videos on those 3 languages, and she could work into English from those 3 languages. And occasionally she felt confident that she could also do it into Spanish. I don't know if Vera is still here, if she wants to add something. But normally, yes, in my case, in interpreting, because I work a lot from videos to provide all the different languages, of course, that I don't speak, and they interpret into English. And they can choose to do more than one language.
Thank you, Renato.
I'll just jump in here to also say
Yeah,
that
sure, thanks.
if a student is in most of the classes I teach and for most of the assignments I give students the option of choosing any one of the languages they want to translate from. So as I mentioned earlier, I tend to have assignments that are set up in such a way that students are translating from their non-English language to English. And so I allow them to choose the language. Now, of course, if it looks like that student is not up to the level to be working on translations in that language, we might have a conversation. But I'm always open to allowing students to try to test their level and kind of see for themselves how things go.
Thank you for jumping, Patricia.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would, sorry, I would
Sorry,
just,
Robert, go ahead.
sorry, I'm trying to turn on my video, but so I would echo what Patricia said in literary translation and also in audiovisual for that matter. It works very similarly. I'm very open to letting students work in, say, their A-C pair, but sometimes depending on the task, particularly in literary translation, they should be working in their strongest pair. And we sort of have that conversation, but I also try to remain as flexible as possible. So, you know, if they want to try something and test out their that particular language pair, as Patricia said, I'm open to that as well.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, so back to some of the questions. The next one. What is the deadline for the letter of recommendation? Can we see when they are submitted on the application portal? So the deadline is the same as the application deadline. If you want to meet the December 1st application deadline, you'd better have the application letters submitted by December 1st. There might be a little bit of wiggling room 1 or 2 days after that where we are still conducting the interviews, but I would recommend to meet the deadline December the 1st or March the 1st if you want to meet the deadlines. And actually for the second part, I'm not sure what you will see from your end, whether you can see they have been submitted, but I guess you can log into your account to check the documents. I'm not sure whether you receive an email notification or something on your end, but keep checking your portal, log in, use your account to log in to check whether the application, whether the letter of references are there already. If not, please reach out to your references a couple weeks before the deadline to give them a nudge to remind them to submit the letter of recommendations on time. I know it's tricky, but sometimes you have to do that before the deadline. And the other one, if I have a master's degree related to foreign language education, can I send a transcript along with my bachelor's degree transcript? Yes, of course. Actually, the Graduate College wants to have all your post-secondary education transcripts, whatever whether it's a bachelor's degree or master's degree or even a certificate, you need to provide your transcripts. Actually, for the transcripts, I want to mention for the application purpose, you do not need to provide the official one. A copy will work because it's just a reference for our admission process. Once you are admitted in the program, that's the time you need to provide the official ones to the grad college. Yeah, because some of the transcript you might need to pay for that. So the unofficial one will work for the application purpose. Since we have 2 deadlines, one in December and the other one in March, can we apply any time in between? Or do we have a specific start date for application also? So applications keeps coming. So if we receive your application by December the 1st, we will continue with the interview if you have met the minimum requirements. And of course, you can submit your application between December the 1st and March the 1st. And then obviously, if we cannot have time to interview around December the 1st, your application will be put into the pool with March the 1st round. We have the interview by then. Yeah, so I hope I addressed that question. And what is the other one? Are scholarships available for online students? Yes. So scholarships are available for both on-campus and online students, but the amount will be different because the tuition you pay is different. It's about the same proportion out of your tuition. Yeah. Any other? I hope I have addressed all the questions. If I miss any question, please feel free to give it a shout. Hi there, go ahead.
I have another question for everyone.
Yeah, sure.
So what do you think the value of the degree in translation and interpretation, especially in this age of the AI?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I guess I will rely on our faculty team, other members, to share their thoughts on this one as well.
Okay, maybe I'll jump in here. Sorry, my
Thank you,
camera keeps
Patricia.
going off. Sorry, I don't know why. Yeah, that's a great question, and it's actually a question that a lot of people are asking, both people who are working as translators, people who are in the translation industry, and people who teach translation and interpreting. So I want to say that I don't have a crystal ball, but there are a lot of people who are talking about generative AI and how it's affecting the language industry. And a lot of the really big people in the field are saying that generative AI and actual also with respect to neural machine translation, which is the model that is being used right now for machine translation, that there's going to come a point where that is going to max out with respect to how much the translation quality seems to improve. So let me just say a couple things. It depends on the kind of translation that you do. For example, there's still a lot of translation that from a legal perspective, a lot of countries are requiring or are writing laws. They're sort of behind the curve a little bit, but they're writing laws to make sure that translations of medical documents, for example, are not done using AI. Or if they are done using AI, that has to be labeled as such. So there's a lot of movements in that direction. And I think that sometimes in some countries, the laws are going to catch up with AI. Now, this said, AI is going to become a tool for translators. However, AI cannot handle every kind of translation. So there will be work for translators. What might be a little bit different is there will be work for people who are, kind of the better translators, and people who are not as experienced and as good and as highly trained. and then in some cases highly specialized. There might not be work for some people who don't have all of those qualifications. So the general feeling within the translation industry, and I'm not going to talk about interpreting because I don't know of how that's going there, but the general feeling is there will always be translation to do, and there will always be a need for translators. But AI is going to become a tool for translators, but it will not replace them completely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. And I see Robert and Ozum. So, Robert, would you like to go first?
Sorry, my Zoom's not working the way it should. I just wanted to drop a footnote into that answer by Patricia. I completely agree with Patricia's assessment on that. I have myself, this is somewhat anecdotal, but I myself have been playing around with generative AI, various platforms, particularly with regard to literary translation. And the good news is that so far, the AI is good enough that it recognizes copyrighted material and it will refuse to do the translation. I don't know if that will change at some point, but that's been my experience so far. So, and especially if you tell it, try to task AI with translating a short story by Ernest Hemingway, for example, of this title, it will just kick it back to you and say, this is copyrighted material, but I can tell you a lot about it, which is kind of nice. And as Patricia said, none of us have a crystal ball, so it's difficult to say in 5 years where this will be, but right now there seems to be some kind of limit in place. And also the other thing that I think is really important to remember is that all of these, even going back to sort of old school machine translation, right? All of these computer aided or assisted methods, I don't think they will ever, I don't think they'll ever be absent the need for at least human post editing, right? Because you have to sort of pass this through a pair of human eyes just to check it. And, that is a skill of, reading translation for the purposes of sort of a comparative analysis of is this, faithful to the source, and does it say what it's supposed to say in the way it's intended, and so forth. So that's also another added skill that you'll come out of the program with. My 2 cents. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thanks. And we have Dr. Azum. She has shared a video. I believe you can check the video. It should be very informative to see where AI stands in interpreting. Do you want to say something too, Azum?
Yeah, thank you. I totally agree with Patricia and Robert in the sense that we will still need human translators and interpreters, although our tasks will be different than what they are today. So things will evolve, but apparently only the good interpreters, the good translators, if you are good enough, you will be there. However, there will be some use case scenarios. So probably we won't be talking about interpreting. I mean, we have to talk about use case scenarios in the sense that in diplomatic interpreting, for instance, I don't think any diplomats would use machine interpreting. No, there is no way that they would do that. So just focus on what you are doing and try to be the best in your field. Only by working hard and only by focusing on what you are doing, you're going to survive as human translators and interpreters. Thank you.
Thank you, Azum.
Just complementing what Ozun was saying, of course, she pointed out to a link And I've seen a lot of discussion, and quoting Patricia, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know, but it seems that the tendency in interpreting, and I think interpreting seems to be more complicated for artificial intelligence than written translation, because you have the variations of accents, speed, you're dealing with oral language. So that there are several components that don't exist in the written word. And as Ozun pointed out, a diplomatic situation, a meeting between two heads of state, I think they are very unlikely to want, at least as we know now, artificial intelligence. I've heard also the difference being made if it is a very simple subject in a meeting, people may try to use some attempts, etc. But if it's something that has very serious implication, most people would be afraid to do it. And for instance, I've worked several years also as a court interpreter. Some judges did not want us to do it remotely. The main courthouse in the state had interpreting booths. So if we were in a distant city, we tried to do it remotely. And some judges didn't even want us remotely. They wanted the human interpreter to be present in the courtroom to solve any problems, any misunderstanding. Many languages, Spanish, for instance, has a lot of variations from country to country. So the judges are very skeptical. Some judges are very skeptical of interpretation. They want to be able to ask you to clarify, or if that is exactly what the person meant or implied, or etc. I've had cases in which the judge told the defendant to go out of the room with me because she was signing a plea deal. And the judge said, "Do you know what this plea deal is?" And the person's lawyer said, "Well, a friend explained it to her." And the judge said, "That's not acceptable. It has to be translated by the court interpreter, who is an official of the court." How would you solve that with IA as we know it today? If you're not there as a person. I stepped outside, translated everything, then we went into the room again, and then the judge says, "Has it been translated to you?" She said, "Through me." And she wanted to hear a yes, it's been translated, and I understand what I'm signing. That's something that just came to my mind.
Yes.
Sorry if I
Thank
took
you.
too
Thanks to
long.
everyone for sharing the thoughts. Yeah, thanks. I think actually Ronaldo reminds me of the alumni talks we had early this year. So some of our alumni, like they have mentioned, like in the company they are working, they
She
do
was a
require
Korean interpreter in
yes, the
Chicago. She
involvement
was
of
my
human
student. Mhm.
yeah, of human translators and interpreters. Yeah, I believe AI has posed like opportunities and threats to people from all professions. Like even my 10-year-old daughter is asking me, "Mom, which major should I major in? Should I do something only AI related?" Yeah, so yeah, thank you all. Thanks for the great question. And the other thing I want to share, we are actually scheduling a roundtable discussion about AI and translation interpreting is still in the process. So once it's
There
scheduled,
a
I will share
lot
the
of
information.
talk.
Yeah, a lot of talks. Robert?
Kelly Carswell had a question. I didn't want to overlook her.
Yeah, I was going to say
Oh,
Kelly has a question.
thank you. Good morning. Sorry. There's been a lot of talk about translation tools, and I'm really interested in localization and like the computer assisted translation course. I'm familiar with some tools just from taking a translation course back in undergrad, and a lot of them weren't free, which caused a lot of problems during like those classes for the professors. Does the university offer any like discounts or any of the software free for if we're using them for those classes?
Okay,
Thank
I
you
can
for
talk
the
to
great
that.
question. Thanks. Yeah, Patricia,
Thanks,
go ahead.
Kelly. Okay, so generally speaking, while you're in the program, there's lots and lots of software that you are able to use at no cost to you. So I can say that we have several CAT tools that are commercial products, but the companies have given us student licenses that students can use while they're in the class. They're not allowed to use the license for commercial purposes, but they can use it for their homework and for learning purposes. We have other software that we buy licenses for. Okay, so a course in localization, for example, is there's usually about 10, maybe 10, 12 students. These are not courses that have a lot of like huge enrollment. So we look at our numbers and we buy a certain number of licenses so that the students in this program or that program, I'm sorry, this course or that course, where an instructor is using a particular software, we'll have a license to use at least for the semester. And in a lot of cases where we do get full education, we get educational licenses for free from the companies. Then we allow the students to use those licenses for as long as they're in the program. So as long as we don't have a restriction on the number, we give you a license and we say, as long as you're in the program, you can use this. But for others where and when we buy licenses, because we're an educational program, we also get discounts. So that's why we are able to buy them. But basically, to answer your basic question is, no, we don't make you pay for them. And if we use them in a course, we find a way to provide the technology for you. If you're interested, now let me just say, if you're interested in technology and you join our program, and I just want to say this to everyone as well, please consider getting a Windows operating system and not a Mac, okay? Because the translation technology is really Windows based. Everything that runs on a Mac has been created after the Windows version. So it's better. So if you're a person interested in technology, localization, things like that, consider getting a Windows operating system, at least one for your use in the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And thank you, Patricia. We have been almost half an hour late, but I think we still have 2 more questions. I don't want to leave the questions behind. So I'll try to address those maybe two questions. So please, would you still be considered for a scholarship if your interview is scheduled for March the 3rd? So as we said, like we highly recommend you submit your application before December the 1st. But it's kind of hard to tell. Every year would be different. Depends on how many scholarships we have assigned to the first round applicants. If we still have like funding available, of course, the excellent applicants for the second round, I mean, March the 1st will be considered for scholarship as well. But we cannot promise. It's changing every year. So the best way is to apply as early as possible to better meet the December 1st application deadline. And I hope this is the last question, maybe. Let me see. What are generally the proportion of students pursuing the different tracks of the master's? I guess you mean the different areas of professions. We have 3 different professions. I don't have an exact number right in my mind now, but yeah, I believe interpreting is getting a lot, and professions as well, but maybe that's the reality. Sometimes literary maybe slightly fewer, but both interpreting and professions, we have quite many students in those areas, right?
I would say it varies a lot from one year to another. Like 2 years ago in community interpreting, I had 21 students in 22, fall 22. Now I have 5.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
So
sometimes we have more
it's
students
very
in
different.
literary. Yeah.
And many people take classes in more than one track, if we can call them track. Some people take all the classes. I had a student last year, she took all the 3 interpreting classes, and she took all the literary classes and did the capstone in literary because she said it was her passion.
Yeah.
And interpreting was something she used at work for the FBI. So she basically had 2 tracks.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Rinaldo. So as we said, like you have your you need to focus on one area of specialization, but it's very possible, especially for on-campus students, because you have the opportunities to take more courses. So you may specialize in more than one area of specialization, and it's doable for some online students as well if you're taking more than 2 courses per semester. Yeah.
And that student was online, and she paid extra credits to take more classes.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Do we have? Okay, so I don't want to keep everyone here for too long. It has been 3:38 now. So yeah, I guess thank you all so much for joining us today for this webinar. I hope you have some of your questions have been addressed. And I guess some of you still have some questions. So don't hesitate. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. So you can have my email and also the program email on our website. Feel free to reach out. And even, also you can reach out to any of our faculty members if you are interested in their specific field or the courses they are offering. So thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, so wish you all the best.
Thank you, Melody. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.